Shocking truth, homeless man proves them wrong, a racing legend at midnight. The night air hummed with a strange tension, a whisper of secrets and stories waiting to break free. In the dim light of the city's hidden corners, shadows danced as if they were alive, cloaking everything in a shroud of mystery. Jason, a local misunderstood homeless man, sat crouched beneath a flickering street lamp, his eyes reflecting the flickers of hope and despair. As the clock struck midnight, a roar of engines pierced the night, sending ripples of excitement through the silence. This wasn't just any night, this was the night people would learn his truth. From a distance, the brightly colored lights of the racing cars glittered like stars in a dark universe. The spectators gathered, their breath held as the vehicles sped past. But then came the whispers. Could it be? Was the man they thought was just a down-and-out soul once a racing legend? Rumor had it he held the record for the fastest lap at the Grand Prix. His name, once chanted in glory, now tossed aside into the gutter like yesterday's trash. As the night deepened, Jason stood up, determination burning in his chest. He ripped off his tattered coat, revealing a racing uniform underneath, still gleaming despite the dust of the streets. Murmurs echoed among the gathered crowd, eyes widening in disbelief. The air crackled with energy, a simmering mix of disbelief and anticipation. Could this man, lost to the world, truly have been a champion? The questions swirled like the cigarette smoke dancing above their heads. The tension grew thicker as Jason, steering away from his misfit facade, sprinted to the makeshift track where cars roared in a blur of neon. Each footfall thudded like a heartbeat, echoing the rapid pulse of the onlookers. Could he still beat the speed? Or had time robbed him of his glory? He felt a lump in his throat, a tightness in his chest, and yet, an unyielding sense of hope surged within him. What if the evening turned around? What if his moment of redemption waited just a heartbeat away? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jason took a deep breath, the air heavy with the scent of gasoline and adrenaline. He could feel the eyes of the crowd drilling into him, their excitement palpable. And then, he made his move. As he stepped onto the track, the sound of engines dimmed momentarily in stunned silence. Would he rise again, or was this merely a fleeting illusion? The night stretched before him, a daunting path of possibilities, each second slipping by like sand through fingers. What awaited beyond the asphalt? Could he reclaim his past or forge a new destiny? The answers loomed just out of reach, shrouded in the chilling mystery of the midnight race. The moment Jason stepped onto the track, the weight of his past and the potential of his future collided. Gasoline fumes burnt his nostrils while cheers and jeers erupted from the crowd, their disbelief mingling with curiosity. He could feel every pair of eyes on him, some skeptical, others filled with hope. His heart raced not from fear, but from adrenaline. This was more than a race, it was his chance to reclaim his story. As the first racer zoomed past him, the wind whipped through his hair, a reminder of the speed and excitement that once defined his life. He recalled the thrill of gliding through sharp corners, the victory celebrations, and the countless fans that had once cheered his name. In that moment, passion ignited a fire within him. He wasn't just a former champion, he was still here, alive and fighting. With a deep breath, he climbed into the nearest car, a battered but powerful beast that roared to life beneath him. The engine growled, eager to hit the track, just like Jason. He gripped the wheel tightly, feeling the familiar contours of the dashboard. This was his element. The memories surged forth, igniting every nerve. Could he still summon the magic that once propelled him to greatness? A countdown rang out through the crowd, 10 seconds before the grid blast off. Each tick echoed like a drumbeat against his chest, intensifying the anticipation. Time seemed to stretch, giving him a moment to reflect. This wasn't just about speed, it was about survival. The world had cast him aside, but he would show them they had made a terrible mistake. Jason was no longer the forgotten man beneath a street lamp, he was a racer, a contender. 5 The spectators held their breath. 4 The memories of past races flooded back, lighting a determination in his eyes. 3 He recalled the sacrifice, the hard work that had led him to the top. 2 As the crowd began to screech with excitement, Jason could only focus on the track ahead. 1 The air crackled with tension. And then, the signal blared. Engines roared to life, and they were off. Jason slammed the accelerator down, feeling the car leap forward. The world around him blurred into a haze of lights and sounds, every ounce of chaos falling away. Focus. Precision. Speed. Jason navigated the turns, his body swaying instinctively with the vehicle. Memories flashed before his eyes, the adrenaline rush, the love of racing, the acceptance he once craved. The competition on the track was fierce, but it faded into insignificance as he fought against his past. He was out to prove not only to the crowd, but to himself that he still had what it took. But then came the wobble, a shudder, a crack, leaving his heart racing for a different reason. Was the car falling apart? Panic surged through him. This was the moment that could break him again. His hands trembled as he regained control. He had a choice: let fear consume him or push through, embracing the chaos. As he rounded the last corner, the finish line loomed on the horizon. Jason's heart pounded like a war drum. Would he cross it first and reclaim his name, or would the weight of his past drown him one last time? The answer lay just ahead, shadowed in uncertainty, waiting for the light to break through. Would victory be his, or would he once again fade into the darkness? Any moment now. The finish line flashed in Jason's eyes, a beacon of hope that felt achingly close yet so impossibly far. He pushed the accelerator deeper, the vibrations of the car sinking with the frantic beat of his heart. The roar of engines around him faded, narrowing down to one singular drive, victory, but the shuddering returned. The car froze for a heartbeat, a bone-rattling jolt that threatened to send him spinning out of control. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around his throat as he wrestled with the wheel. He couldn't let it slip away. Not now. The weight of his past felt heavier as the memories rushed back: failure, abandoned dreams, shattered hopes. He glanced in the rearview mirror just in time to see a rival racer, a dark figure with piercing eyes, closing the gap. The driver was relentless, fueled by an adrenaline-fueled desire to crush Jason's comeback. In that moment, Jason realized that this wasn't just against the clock, it was a battle for respect, to prove that he belonged. Come on, he muttered, urging the car forward. The finish line, a white stripe painted on asphalt, seemed to taunt him, just out of reach. Engines roared and tires screeched, an intense symphony of chaos with Jason at its bitter heart. His fingers grazed the shifts, guiding the vehicle around the last curve, the speed dizzying. The rival racer inched closer, an ominous shadow looming. It felt personal now. Jason could almost sense the opponent's sneer, mocking his return. He had to dig deep, channel everything into this moment. The cars flew side by side, the ground vibrating beneath them. Jason's thoughts flickered to his past, a split second of regret mingled with iron resolve. Remember why you started. Remember who you are. He could feel the crowd's energy surge, their gasps and cheers crashing against him like waves, pushing him toward the edge. In that rush, a new thought sparked. The crowd. They weren't just spectators, they were witnesses to his story, each cheer a reminder of what he had lost and what he could regain. Roused by the noise, he steered with fierce intent, risking it all in the final straight. Then came the moment of truth, a hairpin turn that could make or break him. The rival cut in, a dangerous maneuver to squeeze Jason against the barriers. A sickening jolt shook Jason, fear clawing at his gut, but adrenaline surged deeper. He was not going to back down now. Not after all this. With a deft flick of the wheel, Jason dodged, sliding through the narrowed gap just as rubber squealed against asphalt. The rival's confidence faltered, just for a heartbeat, but it was enough. Jason surged forward, feeling the rush of air like a baptism. As he powered through, the finish line loomed, so tantalizing and close. He felt invincible, but then, a flash of something metallic caught his eye. A sudden bright sparking from the rival car followed by thick black smoke, filling the air with the stench of burnt rubber. The crowd gasped together, a collective intake of breath that pulsed with tension. It was chaos. Jason's instincts kicked in, but what lay ahead transformed into a web of uncertainty. Would he be forced to halt and assist, or could he ride this through? His heart pounded in his ears, drowning out everything else. He reached the finish line, but what then? Would it all come crashing down? As Jason crossed into victory, the smoke consumed more, turning the atmosphere thick with doubt and dread. He had made it through, but at what cost? As the roaring crowd erupted into cheers, a fresh wave of panic chilled Jason. He turned his head just in time to see the rival's car completely engulfed in flames. What had he just unleashed? And as relief washed over him, an urgent instinct tightened in his chest. Something bigger was coming, a force he had yet to confront. It wasn't the race that had him on edge, it was a truth that demanded to be acknowledged. What would happen next? The roar of excitement echoed around Jason, but beneath it, an unsettling silence hovered, thick with tension. Clarity slipped away as the flames cast flickering shadows across his face. He had won, yes, but the figure of his rival, once fierce and competitive, now reduced to a burning shell, haunted him. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder as panic spread through the crowd like wildfire. Jason's heart raced, but it wasn't the adrenaline of victory anymore. It had morphed into something darker, cold as ice. He shifted his gaze from the finish line, scanning the reactions of the onlookers. Some rushed forward, others recoiled in horror, their faces pale against the backdrop of chaos. "Damn it, I did it," he muttered to himself, but it felt empty. As the first responders arrived, the adrenaline-fueled euphoria was replaced by a gnawing pit in his stomach. He pulled the car over, breath hitching in his throat like a noose tightening. His initial thrill faded into a nasty dread that wormed its way through his thoughts. What just happened? He whispered, almost as if trying to convince himself that it wasn't real. He hopped out, trembling. Each step felt heavy, the cheers turning into gasps. As he passed the wreckage, the air thickened with fear and smoke, choking him. His palms were slick against the steering wheel. The rival's car crumbled under the flames, but all he could think of were the lives that might be altered in a flicker of a moment. A paramedic rushed past him, exposure in her eyes, muttering orders as she pointed towards the inferno. "We've got to contain it. Hold the crowd back." Jason fought against the swell of bodies pressing in, each face sharing the same stark realization: the danger lingered long after the race ended. He sidestepped panic, searching for answers among the stunned crowd. Then, like a bolt from the blue, he spotted something: a little girl clinging to her father, eyes wide, searching for reassurance but finding only fear. She was inconspicuous in the shifting mass, yet painful to look at. Suddenly, something crunched beneath Jason's shoe. He bent down, heart racing, fingers brushing a shattered window piece. He recognized it instantly, a fragment of his rival's windshield. A horrid thought raced through him. What if that wasn't just another loss? What if he was responsible for sending someone to their fate today? Jason was spiraling, and he could feel the ground slipping beneath him. "Are you okay?" A voice snapped him out of his reverie. It was a reporter, camera poised, asking questions that Jason found impossible to answer. "What are your thoughts on?" "Thoughts?" He shot back, voice shaky. "Someone could be hurt. Where's the driver?" An ambulance pulled up, bright lights flashing, and he felt a sudden urge to run. What if he had changed everything with his victory? The recklessness of racing had taken a life and left its mark on him. The reporter's questions faded into muffled background noise, like echoes in a distant hallway. As the paramedics spread out, rushing toward the fire, Jason noticed flames licking higher, more insistent than before. "Please," he murmured under his breath, shock settling heavily within. The last remnant of his elation crumbled. With each passing second, it became clearer, this wasn't the end. It was the prologue to something far worse, something that lurked just outside the realm of the track but was ready to claw its way into his reality. Where did he go from here? Would the remnants of this day haunt him forever? And as the smoke curled ominously upwards, Jason felt an undeniable chill. Was this just the beginning of a revelation far greater than he could have ever anticipated? The crowd had begun to scatter, dread clouding the air, twisting the initial excitement into something grotesque. Jason, still trapped in that swirl of disbelief, stumbled back as he spotted the bright flashes of cameras and heard the shouts of more reporters pushing past the pale faces of witnesses. Suddenly, he felt like an actor in a play he hadn't signed up for, every move being scrutinized, amplified. Just a race, he thought, yet the weight of it pressed down harder with each breath. Jason turned back toward the embers flickering like dying stars. The fire raged, almost eager to consume everything around it. Then, through the chaos, he heard a voice, a low, trembling sound coming from nearby. "Jason." It was his friend, Ben, rushing through the melting crowd, his face a mix of concern and shock. "What happened?" "You were right there." "The crash. I saw it." "Is everyone okay?" I don't know." Jason's words came out in a rush. They tangled in his throat, raw and jagged. "I don't know if the driver, if anyone's hurt." Ben's eyes widened. "We need to find out." "Did you see if he got out?" "He may still be inside." Jason felt a wave of nausea wash over him. How could he think about that? "We should leave, this is messed up." But Ben grabbed his arm, desperation flaring in his eyes. "You don't get it. They're gonna blame you, Jason. It's already started. We need to." Before he could finish, a blood-curdling scream pierced through the noise of the sirens, silencing everyone for a split second. They turned slowly toward the source, all thoughts snapping to attention, faces locked in horror. A figure emerged from the smoke, tall, with wild hair and ash-stained clothes, staggering near the wreckage. Flames danced behind him like some twisted halo. The onlookers gasped. "Was it?" "No." Someone shouted. "Get back. It's too dangerous." But the figure pressed on, and Jason's heart sank. It was the driver. He stumbled through the debris, his arm outstretched, eyes wild with a mix of pain and anguish. Everything around seemed electric with shock, the crowd frozen as disbelief turned to horror. "Help me," he croaked, falling to his knees. "My team, they didn't make it." A guttural ache rose in Jason's chest at the sight. This was no mere rival anymore, it was a man broken by disaster. The reality of the moment blurred the lines of competition and humanity, making the fire rage even hotter in Jason's mind. "Why didn't you stop?" Jason whispered, heart hammering. I didn't know. I thought." The driver's voice trailed off into desperation. He caught sight of Jason, fear etched into his face. Are you okay? Did you?" The questions hung in the air like the smoke suffocating them, heavy with implication. Did he think Jason might have done something to cause it? A murmur rippled through the crowd, shifting toward Jason, accusation mixed with fear. Whispers surged like undercurrents, and unyielding judgment appeared in the eyes around him. "Jason. We need to find a way to help." Ben's voice jolted him, grounding him back to reality. A flicker of resolve ignited within him. He couldn't let this moment shatter. Not now. He forced his legs to move, but doubt clawed at him. Would his voice be enough? Could he make a difference after everything that had happened? Jason plunged into the chaos, feeling the heat from the wreckage sear his skin. The fire crackled with malicious intent, it seemed alive, a demon hungry for more chaos. His vision blurred in the shimmering light of the flames, but one thing was clear: he needed answers, and he needed to stop this nightmare from growing worse. As he reached the stricken driver, something felt wrong. A hint of movement in the shadows caught his eye, another figure, lurking just beyond the light. It felt like a storm building on the horizon, an urge tugging at Jason's instincts. What did they want? And more importantly, who else was watching? The adrenaline surged with renewed urgency. It was too late for regrets. The truth was rising like smoke. Would he be strong enough to face it? Jason's heart raced as he squinted into the swirling smoke. The panicked murmur erupted around him, voices rising in confusion and fear. The crowd instinctively recoiled, a sea of faces reflecting a grim mixture of shock and curiosity, but all Jason could see was that figure disappearing into the darkness behind the burning wreckage. "Ben! Stay close!" he shouted, urgency layering his voice. He felt his friend tugging at his sleeve and heard the clatter of camera shutters snapping in dizzying frequency. It was like being on stage, but all he wanted was to melt into the shadows. The driver, still on his hands and knees, called for help again, but now there was a tremor in his voice that sent a chill down Jason's spine. "My team, they're still in there." Panic clawed at him, tightening around his throat as the reality of their situation set in like the heavy smoke. "I can't leave him," Jason yelled at Ben, barely hearing his friend's protest. With every step forward, he felt the stares of the crowd weighing on him, judging, questioning, just waiting to see if he would falter. But there was something in his gut telling him he had to keep moving. "Jason!" A cold voice cut through the clamor, sending ice through his veins. He turned sharply. It was a stranger. A man dressed in dark clothing, his expression hidden behind sunglasses despite the shadows. He stood at the edge of the chaos, hands in pockets, watching with a sinister calm. Taking a deep breath, Jason pushed past the driver to get a better look at the wreck. The flames were dying, their furious orange glow giving way to smoldering embers. It felt sacred, like a funeral pyre lighting the darkness. The fear coiled tighter within as he scanned for any sign of others trapped. Then, he spotted something just beyond the mess of metal and debris. A faint glimmer caught his eye. He stumbled towards it, tripping over a twisted piece of the car. When he reached down, he froze. It was a piece of broken equipment, the name of the racing team emblazoned across it in bold letters. This was no coincidence. They had been forced off course. Why did this happen? He murmured, heart racing. Was it a mechanical failure? Human error? Or something darker? The driver winced as he shifted weight, the pain evident in his voice. "You need to help. I can't lose anyone else." Before Jason could reply, the distant sound of sirens became a deafening roar, cutting through the haze. The crowd pressed tighter, drawn by fear and morbid fascination. "Jason, we have to go," Ben urged, but again Jason's eyes were drawn to the stranger lurking in the shadows. The man's posture hadn't changed. It felt like he was waiting, watching everything unfold with an unsettling detachment. Suddenly, the driver screamed. An echo of raw agony that cut through the cloak of noise. "They need you. They need to know what really happened." "Who are you talking about?" Jason shouted, a knot of dread settling in his gut. But the driver was staring past him now, attention locked on the figure in darkness. A glint of recognition sparked in the driver's eyes. No, it can't be." Jason stepped back, instinctively guarding himself against the whispered fears rising in his mind. He felt the weight of the crowd pressing in, hot breath of accusation on his neck. What is going on? But the driver had gone pale, realization crushing down like a weight. "He knows he was involved," he rasped, glancing desperately from Jason to the stranger. And just like that, everything changed. The shadows lengthened as the stranger stepped forward, tall and menacing. Jason's skin prickled, a voice slithering through the chaos and into his ears. You don't have to be part of this, kid. Walk away. Fear gripped Jason's heart as every instinct screamed for him to run. The truth buried deep in the flames flickered and danced with menacing allure. What lay ahead could rip his world apart. The moment hung, a taut string pulled tight, ready to snap. Each heartbeat echoed louder than the sirens, faster than his racing mind. If he took one step closer, would he find the truth or a trap waiting to close around him? The air thickened with dread as he pondered his next move, eyes locked on the figure stepping from the shadows. What secrets did he still hold? And would Jason be brave enough to confront them? Jason's mind spun, racing through the possibilities. The figure standing before him felt like a walking chasm, shadowy and deep, threatening to swallow him whole. What do you know? He demanded, his voice tougher than he felt inside. The man in dark clothing stepped closer, his sunglasses glinting in the dying light. More than you think, he replied, his tone smooth but edged with menace. Do you really want to know the truth? The words hung heavy in the air, causing Jason's heart to race faster. What truth? What kind of danger lurked behind an accident that had already claimed so much? Against all reason, he took a step forward, feeling Ben's hand grip his arm, trying to pull him back. You shouldn't shut up, Ben. Jason shot back, never taking his eyes off the stranger. The crowd around them hushed. The air was electric. A primal instinct gripped him, he felt compelled to uncover what lay beneath the surface. You think this is just an accident? The stranger pressed. You really believe that the risks you take out there are just part of the game? You're either blind or too naive to see what you're tangled up in. Enough. The driver yelled from the ground, pain contorting his features. His fingers clutched the wreckage as if it were a lifeline. He's playing with you. Don't listen. But the stranger only grinned, a sharp, knowing smile that spread across his face, flickering like a candle in the wind. This man's team never stood a chance. Their fate was sealed long before the first race began. Jason's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Suddenly, the sirens blasted louder, a harbinger of impending chaos. Red and blue lights began to flash in the distance, the scene morphing into one of urgency. The crowd began to murmur, confusion spreading, with people shifting nervously, glancing around as if they could feel the tension crackling in the air. It's time for you to choose, kid, the stranger said, stepping even closer until Jason could see the cold determination reflected in his sunglasses. Do you want the truth, or do you want to walk away right now? Life's about choices, remember that. As the words sank in, Jason's breathing quickened, and his throat felt tight. What if this was his only chance to uncover something vital, something that could change everything for the driver and the team? But with that choice came fear, a slippery sense of dread about the repercussions. Jason shot a quick glance at Ben, whose expression mirrored his own. It was a mix of concern and resolve. We can't just walk away, Jason. We can't. The stranger's lips twitched into a mocking smile. You think this is about you too? This isn't a game. They'll come for you just the same. Either you dig deeper or you'll regret not finding out what's coming for you. With the sound of approaching footsteps, sirens closing in, time stretched. Jason felt the weight of the crowd's gaze, heavy with questions and unspoken judgments, and then he caught a glimpse of the driver's pleading expression. Don't let them silence you. It's not just about speeding away. It's about knowing the truth, Jason. In that instant, Jason realized he was at a crossroads. The flames of the wreckage flickered and danced behind him, casting long shadows of doubt and fear. Could he really face the darkness that hung around him, the shadows threatening to swallow him whole? The tension mounted as the crowd drew in closer, eyes wide, breaths held as Jason stood at the precipice of a decision. The truth lingered on the edge of his lips, waiting for him to speak it into existence. All right, he took a breath, unsure yet adamant. What do you want from me? The stranger leaned in closer, and Jason steeled himself, knowing that the truth could either light his path or plunge him deeper into mystery. And then everything exploded. The wail of sirens and screams erupted around them, drowning out everything else. It wouldn't be long before the authorities arrived, inevitably dragging every secret out into the light. "Remember," the stranger said with a dramatic pause, his voice barely a whisper now, "some truths are more dangerous than others. Are you ready to handle the consequences?" Jason's breath caught in his throat, the weight of his choice settling heavily upon him. As chaos erupted, he realized that the real challenge had only just begun. What awaited him beyond this moment could either save them all or destroy them entirely. And suddenly, Jason felt the fear turn into something else entirely, a flicker of resolve that he couldn't ignore. Just then, a deafening crash cut through the noise behind him, a new explosion of chaos that would set events in motion he never saw coming. What had he just stepped into? Smoke billowed around Jason as another explosion rocked the air, sending shards of debris dancing like deadly confetti. The crowd erupted into panic, people screaming and scrambling for safety. He felt Ben pull on his arm, but Jason stood still, his heart pounding a furious rhythm against his ribs. "Jason! We need to get out of here." Ben's voice was frantic, but Jason was rooted to the spot, staring into the thickening haze where the stranger had vanished. The man had spoken words soaked in danger, words that now felt like a bitter poison racing through his veins. The sirens grew closer, their wails blending with the chaos. Officers would arrive any moment, and once they did, everything would change. Jason glanced back at the wreckage. It was a haunting sight, twisted metal and shattered glass reflecting the dim glow of the remaining flames. The driver struggled to pull himself away from the vehicle, gasping for air, the blood pooling under him like a warning. "Help him!" Jason shouted, conflicting instincts tearing him apart. The driver, face pale, was fighting against the inevitable. How could he think about turning away now? "Jason, please. If the cops get here," Ben's voice chipped in, panic edging it, but in the torrent of confusion, Jason felt a shift within himself, a fierceness that silenced the fear. He had to know the truth, even if it was laced with darkness. "I need to hear what he is saying. He knows something." A second explosion erupted nearby, closer this time. The earth shook beneath him, and the crowd recoiled, screams rising to a fever pitch. Jason's eyes darted through the smoke, searching for any sign of the stranger, wanting to grasp onto the dangerous knowledge he dangled in front of him. Then he spotted something, a flicker of movement amid the wreckage. Without thinking, he broke free from Ben's grasp and darted towards the driver. His heart hammered louder, making every step feel like a gamble with fate. "Don't move. Just hold on," Jason yelled, outstretching a hand toward the driver, whose gaze was riveted on him, wide with desperation and something old: fear, regret, and maybe hope. They locked eyes. "The race wasn't an accident, kid. It was planned. You need to find." But the driver's warning was swallowed by another explosion, the force knocking Jason off his feet. He tumbled backward, pain shooting up his spine, the world around him spinning into a haze of color and noise. "Jason!" Ben's voice cut through the chaos, urgent and terrified. With an effort, Jason scrambled to his feet, but his head buzzed like a hornet's nest. The crowd was surging now, pushing him back, away from the driver and the truth rooted in the shadows. "Get out, now!" Ben yelled, grabbing him and pulling him further away from the wreckage. Jason kicked against the tide, desperate to return, desperate to get answers that felt just out of reach. But the scene was collapsing in on itself. Officers began to pour in, lights flashing, orders barking through the air. Someone grabbed his shoulder, spinning him around. "You! Over here!" The world fractured into chaos, and in the swirling mix of sirens and shouting, Jason's resolve faltered. Maybe he hadn't been ready to handle the consequences. He glanced over his shoulder just as the last flicker of the stranger's figure disappeared into the swirling smoke. "Jason, please," Ben implored, his eyes wide with panic. "If you stay, it'll get worse." And that's when Jason felt it, a spark deep inside, igniting a fire fueled by fear and adrenaline. That wasn't the end. He had to find out what the driver meant, what the stranger knew. The truth was a beast lurking in the shadows, clawing to break free, but it wouldn't wait for him. "Let us go," Jason said, voice steeled, adrenaline coursing through him. "But I'm coming back. I have to know the truth." They turned to run as the night danced with chaos, but behind them, something shimmered through the smoke, something that felt like a promise and a threat all at once. What lay ahead would be even darker, but he couldn't turn back now. Jason knew it was just the beginning. As they sprinted away from the wreckage, the sirens fading behind them, the weight of the unseen truth pressed heavier on his chest. What did the stranger know? And at what cost would Jason uncover it? Time was slipping away. Jason sprinted down the dark alley, Ben's grip on his arm a constant reminder of the danger lurking behind them. The sirens had faded, but the adrenaline still pumped through his veins, fueling his escape. Each pounding footfall echoed his racing thoughts. He had to go back. The driver's last words clung to him like a persistent shadow, and he couldn't shake the feeling that understanding them was crucial. "Why are you doing this?" Ben panted, trying to keep pace. "We just witnessed an explosion. We should be the hell away from that scene." Jason shook his head. "You didn't see his face." He knew something. They rounded a corner and ducked into a cramped side street, where flickering streetlights cast eerie shapes against the brick walls. Standing there, panting, Jason could feel the weight of the night pressing down on him. It's as if the darkness itself was conspiring against him. "What if the cops get involved?" Ben's voice was edged with panic. "What if they find us? What if someone else is after that driver?" A flash of determination sparked in Jason's chest. "I can't leave it like this, Ben. What if this spills into something bigger? There were so many people there. What if they're in danger?" He looked deeper into the shadows, searching as if the answers might appear from the blackness. Would returning to that wreckage lead him into even murkier waters? But the truth was like a firefly, the more he chased it, the further away it seemed. "Listen, Jason." Ben wiped his brow, frustration bubbling. "If you want to go back, fine. I'm not going to stop you. But I'll tell you this, you might not be the only one looking for answers. If that driver was in danger, maybe we are too." The gravity of Ben's words hit like a tonal shift. Jason felt the pulse of fear, amplifying the very senses he steeled. The risk was real. But knowing he could uncover the truth steered his thoughts in one decisive direction. "We have to know what he meant. I can't walk away from this." They stepped cautiously through the fading streetlights, moving toward the noise of commotion still echoing from the wreck site, where officers and paramedics flitted about like fireflies caught in a storm. Voices blended, orders were drowned beneath the sound of chaos, but beneath it all, Jason could hear the thunder of truth calling him back, raw and compelling. As they approached, Jason paused, his heart in his throat. In the distance, lights pooled like water, keeping secrets behind the flashing hues. Ben grabbed his shoulder. "Let us just think this through, show." Jason hissed, slipping away again, his instincts pushing him forward. This was about more than that driver now, this was becoming a mission, one he felt deep within himself. He slid through the thinning crowd, sensing movement just beyond his reach. Someone was lingering near the wreckage, someone familiar. "What are you doing?" Ben followed closely, anxiety pulsing from his voice. "Just watch," Jason breathed. Suddenly, a grizzled man stood up from behind the police line, eyes darting as if searching for someone. He wore a tattered jacket, and something glinted in his hand, a phone. A flicker of recognition surged through Jason. It was the stranger from before, the one who spoke of truth and danger. "Ben, that's him. We have to hear what he is saying." Before he could lose his courage, Jason edged closer, weaving between officers who were too focused on the flaming wreckage to notice him. But his heart raced as the man turned slightly, head down, speaking into the phone. "No, I'm not a part of this. You don't understand." Every word was a hook digging deeper into Jason's determination. He inched closer, mind racing. Who was on the other end? Was it someone tied to the explosion? What were they hiding? "I'll tell you everything, but I need you to meet me," the stranger continued, glancing over his shoulder as if sensing Jason's presence. "We can't let them win. It's bigger than you think." Jason's eyes widened. What was this man tangled up in? And how could it possibly be connected to the chaos that now swirled around them? The anticipation electrified his senses. He wanted to know what lay behind those words. Suddenly, the man froze, locking eyes with Jason. For a moment, the world around them faded. There was a challenge in his gaze and a demand that snaked through Jason. This was far from over. "We need to talk." As the stranger began to turn, a shout broke through the night. Someone had noticed Jason. Heart racing, he knew this was just the beginning, and soon the truth would come barreling toward him like a runaway train. What lies ahead that the stranger knew? And would Jason find the answers he craved, or would he stumble blindly into the abyss? The dark clouds parted as dawn broke, casting golden light over the city that had witnessed chaos just hours before. Jason stood alone on the track, the echoes of last night still reverberating in his mind. His victory felt hollow now, framed by the painful whispers of the truth that had begun to emerge from the ash and smoke of destruction. He could still hear the crowd's wild cheers, but all he felt was the weight of uncertainty pressing down on his chest. Had he fueled the flames that had engulfed his rival's life? Memories of the burning car clawed at him, the raw faces of disbelief and fear he had seen in the crowd now etched onto his mind. It was haunting. "Jason." Ben's voice broke through his thoughts, jogging towards him, face flushed with concern. "Are you all right, man? There's so much to process here." Jason turned, his resolve beginning to harden. "I need to know more about what happened. That driver, the explosion. There has to be a reason behind all of this." With reluctance, Ben nodded. "But you can't do this alone. We might just end up tangled in something bigger than we expected." "Then let us dig deeper," Jason replied, fire sparking in his voice. Reclaiming what the world seemed to have stolen from him was becoming more than just racing against time. It was about standing up against the shadows lurking in the corners of his life. Together, they made their way through the fading remnants of chaos, navigating through scattered debris and evidence markers put in place by the authorities. As they delved into the heart of the day's events, each step they took felt like peeling back layers of a story long hidden. "Look!" Ben pointed at a makeshift gathering of reporters, cameras flashing as they clamored for information. Jason felt a tightness in his chest. He had tangled with the press before. The attention could quickly turn from admiration to condemnation. "If you want to get answers, you might need to brave it," Ben added, glancing at Jason with a hint of hesitation. "Let us do it," Jason said, the anticipation buzzing inside him. They approached the crowd, where an interview was occurring. A familiar face stood before the camera, Detective Allens, who had overseen the emergency response. Jason's heart raced as he pushed towards the front, straining to hear the questions firing from the reporters. "Can you tell us what caused last night's explosion?" one reporter shouted. "Was it sabotage? What's the investigation revealing about the incident?" Detective Allens turned serious as he responded, "We are still piecing information together, but early reports indicate that while mechanical failure contributed, we're not ruling out foul play." Jason exchanged a glance with Ben, a shared understanding igniting between them. This might be the breakthrough they needed. "Foul play," Jason whispered, feeling a chill sweep over him. "Who would do something like this?" Ben asked, worry lining his features. "I don't know, but if someone is covering this up, we need to find them before they bury the truth," Jason replied, determination flooding his voice. Eventually, they found their way to a nearby cafe, a quiet space where the hubbub of the world faded into muted chatter. There, Jason opened his laptop to search for more information. But as he typed, it struck him, the stranger, the messages, the driver's pleas, everything converged into a labyrinth of unanswered questions. An article caught Jason's eye: a racing team gone silent after a catastrophic failure, lost to the underbelly of the industry. Ben, this is it. They were involved in suspicious dealings. This was no accident. As the day wore on, thoughts raced through Jason's mind like lightning, lighting up dark corners he had been too afraid to explore. He felt a sense of urgency. He had to confront the drivers behind the darkness to protect not just himself, but everyone who might be at risk. "Let us meet the driver from last night," Jason declared, resolve etched into his features. He might know more about what has been happening behind the scenes. "Are you sure? That could be dangerous," Ben cautioned, concern thick in his tone. "The truth is dangerous. But ignorance can be lethal." Jason made his way to the hospital, his heart pounding like a drum, a mix of apprehension and determination coursing through him. Was this the right choice? Every moment spent waiting felt like the world was ticking away, precious seconds that could expose the wrongs hidden under a cloak of smoke. When he finally entered the hospital room, he found the driver lying there, eyes reflecting the torment of the night's events. With each step closer, Jason recognized the weight this man carried, the same fear that entwined so tightly with his own. You came," the driver murmured, pain flaring in his voice. "You shouldn't be here. I need to know what happened, what you meant about this not being an accident," Jason pressed, leaning closer, desperation edging his words. The driver paused, scrutinizing Jason's face for any hint of doubt. "They planned everything. The race wasn't just about winning, it was much darker, and they needed someone to take the fall, someone they thought wouldn't fight back." "Who?" Jason's heart raced at the implications. The driver hesitated, casting a glance towards the door, fear tightening his throat. "There's a whole syndicate at play. They call themselves the finish line. Traditionally, they eliminate competition both on and off the track. You've stumbled into something dangerous." Jason felt a shiver run down his spine, the realization hitting hard. This was much bigger than he could have ever imagined. But he wasn't turning back now. "Then I'll expose them. I can't let them hide behind shadows and darkness. Not after what I've seen." "Be careful, kid," the driver whispered, pain etched into every word. "Once you're in, there's no easy way out." Jason met his gaze, a new fire igniting in his chest. "I know. But this is my fight now." With purposeful strides, Jason turned back towards the door, determination sparking through him like adrenaline racing through a circuit. He wasn't just racing against time now, he was racing to expose the truth and reclaim his life. If you've made it this far, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. You can't miss the next explosive chapter in the series. Smash that like button too, it's how you can truly support us and feed the algorithm. And please, flood that comment section with your reactions and theories. I want to hear what you think. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to catch the next installment. Join us on this journey together. Your voice matters.